UFC Fight Night in Saudi Arabia this past Saturday. Had a lot of hype, had a lot of high expectations. Kind of an underwhelming card, I would say. Devastating main event as an Izzy fan, a former Izzy fan, and my friend Justin here. Not a very happy day right now in Ballin' and Brawlin' headquarters. But still, for a fight night, you take what you can get. Justin, what'd you think of the card as a whole? We'll get kind of more into Izzy's performance because that's really all there is to talk about. But an MVP, I'll shout out MVP real quick with a great performance. And I actually just saw moments ago, I had probably just a rumor. We didn't even talk about this. Did you see that someone said Shara Bullet might be retiring? I assume it was fake. I should have looked. I don't know how I just thought of this, but I assume it was fake. And all the replies, no one was saying it was fake. Everyone's like, yeah, how is he even fighting anyway with one eye? But I guess as I go to confirm that, tell me what'd you think of the card?
Yeah, dude. I thought the card was solid as a whole. The Pavlovich Rozenstruik fight was obviously a letdown. But Pavlovich did what he needed to do to win the fight. Was kind of had the faster hands. Neither of them really I feel like they were hesitant to throw an exchange. And I don't blame a guy like Pavlovich who just got picked apart by Volkov and then sparked the fight before. So you understand why he's a little gun shy these days. But yeah, he did what he needed to do to win. As far as Rozenstruik, I think it's time for bare knuckle. The guy has. I'm just being honest. We can find more gatekeepers in the heavyweight division. Let's get some new blood. Rozenstruik had to bare knuckle. He'll probably become heavyweight champion.
Not beating Mike Perry.
And as far as Shara Bullet versus MVP, the fight really kind of played out as expected. I obviously I picked MVP to get the finish, and that didn't happen. But I thought MVP would be the crisper striker. I don't know how many guys he can fight in this sport that are. If the fight's just going to stay on the feet, who are going to be able to beat him. And not saying that it's just his style, his speed. Even at his age, his speed is still elite. You know what I mean?
There's no one in the UFC. There's no one in MMA that's beating him in a stand-up fight. Actually, I don't know if you want to make your point of
incorrect. As you were about to say, we kind of talked about this a little bit before the pod, but driving home today, I text Hebs and I said, I think the fight to make is Izzy versus MVP here at middleweight. I think it'd be a very entertaining and exciting fight for the fans. And as Izzy we're going to get to him in a second, but I think as he's obviously kind of on the back end of his career. I think he maybe has one or two left in him. I think why not do a fun fight like that? Two guys, I know they're kind of friends, so I don't know if that'll work exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that would be such an entertaining and fun fight. And it's a guy that I do think could match MVP on the feet and give the fans a very entertaining fight. What's your take on that? Would you be?
Oh, as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, I'm running with this idea and going to tell everyone I thought of it myself. That is the perfect fight. Again, we'll talk. I'm sure we'll spend most of today just talking about Izzy, but dude, MVP. I think I said that exact line when we were doing the breakdown. I just don't think his striking is truly on another level. We saw that against Ian Gary. People said Ian Gary is this kind of world-class striker, or we thought of him, he looked really good on the feet in all of his fights before MVP. And he just got that second round, man. He just was getting completely outclassed. The speed, the way he comes in and out of range, he does. I don't know if you saw that meme this weekend. It's there's a very famous video of the Grinch. I'll send it to you. I don't even know how I'm going to try to describe this right now, but he's kind of coming up and down. I think he's barking to a dog or something like that. I hope that was a good description, but it was going pretty viral this weekend because the way MVP moves when he's going like this, coming in and out, obviously such a showman as well, which can lead to some boring fights at times. The Holland fight wasn't really exciting, but oh my gosh. And then even Ian Gary took him down and controlled him, and we were all ripping him apart for it. We're oh, this guy has no wrestling. And while that is probably true or maybe true, then we just saw Ian Gary take down Shavkat and have his back in the fist. So it's Ian Gary is a very good grappler in his self. So, getting taken down by him is not the worst thing ever. So who knows how bad his grappling defense it actually is, but dude, he looked so good. I don't know if it's more about how good he looked, or like if we're gonna actually have to have a serious conversation about Shara Bullet. Like, I don't know why I said that right off the rip, right when we started talking, because I just Googled it. Now I can't find anything, so
I think I saw him post like the bullet will be back type of thing on Instagram.
Yeah. Obviously, that wasn't true. We'll cut that out. We're gonna
no,
get that
you gotta
out of
keep that. You
there.
gotta keep
Yeah.
that.
No, I
But
know. I say
no,
that all the time. You haven't caught on. I never cut anything, but I always say cut that out.
There's
But
two
dude,
things I think like taken away from the fight is just
he's
like
got one eye. Like, what? Imagine, can you
dude,
shut
it's
your eye and then
hilarious.
like, are
I
you
have
kidding?
to give a shout out to my buddy Eric Epps here, friend of the program.
You shout out Eric Epps every episode.
Listen,
the guy doesn't
no.
ever listen.
No, listen, he actually texts me and goes, I gotta throw money on MVP. He's fighting a guy with one eye. This is easy money.
Genius.
Hey,
I hope he did. I hope he did.
No, I think he did. So, but I mean, yeah, just from the fight alone, like it's like one Shara Bullet. I mean, me personally, I never thought he was like some elite talent. And then two, it's just with MVP. I'm interested if he does fight, let's say a guy like Izzy or someone in a 5-round fight. The style he has, bro, if you kind of watch that fight, even that fight when there's no grappling really involved at all, the fucking karate hop shit is great for about 2 rounds. And then in the 3rd round, it starts to really slow down. And I'm not, dude, I don't know if anyone can do it for 5 rounds hard. Like, I mean, Wonder Boy is showing back in his prime, but it's like, I just wonder if MVP gets to these 5-round fights and it goes into rounds 4 and 5, if he's going to be a stationary target. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's an interesting thing to look at.
Yeah, again, if he were to fight Izzy, I think it's fun to think about right now just because stylistically, but like, obviously I would heavily favor Izzy in that fight. I mean, Izzy looked really good, before he didn't on Saturday. So, but yeah, but I mean, Shara, I don't really know, like, it was kind of weird matchmaking, right? Because like Shara, in my opinion, he like hasn't looked that great. Like, he didn't look that great in his last fight, and then he gets one of the best knockouts I've ever seen. So like, you can kind of, excuse me, like, I don't know that he hasn't been crazy impressive. Like, I think he was getting all this hype around him, but again, shout out to Epps. I mean, like, it doesn't really take a genius to figure out, man. Like, and maybe because everyone just is saying Bisping with the eye, like, dude, like, first of all, fighters, like everything else, they just keep getting better and better. So like, as something you could do, 7 years ago, you probably can't do anymore. But like, bro, fighting MVP with one eye, like, he's got one eye. He's not allowed to fight in the United States because he has one eye. So I don't know. Like, realistically, we probably should have seen it coming that he would really struggle with some of the top-notch competition, especially in the striking, right? Like, well, actually, I'll just transition to it right now. So we'll call it the Reverse Pereira, right? The Izzy, again, devastating stuff. But speaking of how hard it is to fight with one eye, when you watch that exchange, so he gets eye poked, he tries to do the Pereira, right? He stands there for a sec, he waves off the ref, and then immediately he goes back to fighting, he tries to switch stances, and then like immediately switches back. So like, maybe he was just trying to do like, obviously he just switches stances every 5 seconds, but it seemed like maybe he didn't love, or like he was still taking a second with that eye. Because even if it's not a legit eye poke, again, what Pereira did was great. But like, this is really what Jamal Hill claims happened. Jamal Hill always talks about, oh, there was a mix up, yada, yada, yada. Dude, and I didn't hear, I heard Izzy talk a little bit after the fight. Not really the guy to make excuse. Actually, that motherfucker, say whatever you want about him. He took his L's. That guy never makes an excuse, man. And that's why, again, fans, the sport is just all fair weather fans. And I'm victim of it as well. Like, I'm not saying I'm not. Like, I've rooted against the guy after being a huge fan of his. Like, so I'm guilty of it as well. But like, dude, that guy takes every loss on the chin. He lost to Sean Strickland in the most embarrassing, the shit he was saying before, and then to fight like that in like the biggest title fight upset in UFC history. And then he just was fine after. Like, he takes everything on the chin. Pause. But like, I mean, I think I didn't hear him make any excuses, but I have to think in that exchange, he kind of maybe was having trouble with that eye. Because if you watch it, he moves, he switches right back immediately, and then he like what Imavov kind of charges in. He takes a step back off that back foot, and then he gets clipped. He looked great in the first. He was more aggressive than he's been, especially in these last two fights. It's such a shame, man. The sport is just so brutal. I say it every time we talk, but like, it's so different than every other sport. You know, you see these guys, they start to get worse as they age. They kind of fade out. In the UFC, fading out means you're getting sparked unconscious. But all right, actually, I'm ranting. It's way worse. And I think it's similar with Volk right now. Like, when these guys, like, I don't think Izzy's washed it at all. I think Izzy beats pretty much everyone at middleweight other than a couple guys who he has lost to. It's way worse, in my opinion, to see a guy like still look good and then, you know, be on this losing streak, right? Because he's lost 3 in a row. He's lost 4 out of 5. You're seeing all the, he should retire. What's next for Izzy?
Yeah.
Oh, he's probably done. Well, he's lost 4 out of 5. He's washed. You'll see a couple of those. Couldn't be further from the truth. Obviously, he's lost to all good guys, but not only that, he's looked good. Like, he looked fine against DDP, right? And he looked great in the first round. He was more active. We were saying he's becoming a boxer. He's not throwing as many leg kicks. He was throwing kicks. He looked good. And, you know, it's so brutal the way it happened, man. But
I couldn't agree more with you on the notion of, like, bro, some of the, like, even Volkanovski, and look, these guys, even, dude, they're fighting. They go from they're the pound for pound talk, like, top guys, to then they lose a couple fights. Yes, Izzy's lost 3 in a row, whatever. Bro, he's lost to 3 guys that are obviously, like, at the top right now. Like, it's not like he's, like, losing the fucking, like, I hate when people are just like, oh, it might be time for Izzy to hang it up. Like, and don't get me wrong, if he wants to hang it up, he's, by all means, he's one of the legends of the sport. He's the first ballot Hall of Famer, but it's like, if the guy didn't look good, just came out and got sparked, I get it. He looked good in that fight. He was very competitive against DDP. Like, I just don't understand the notion of people just instantly claiming guys are, like, washed, because even the notion that Volkanovski's washed because he fucking loses to Islam Makhachev twice, a guy who's walking around probably 35 pounds heavier than the guy. Like, I don't understand why people like just and then he loses to Ilia Topuria again, a guy who I think is arguably the best fighter in the world, like him and Islam, whatever.
Well,
like,
those are the two. I don't think there's any art like those.
Yeah.
In my opinion, are the two
That's
best
what I'm
fighters
saying.
in the world.
Like,
so.
I don't get why people just immediately jump to the conclusion of these guys need to hang it up. But yeah, quick, back to the Izzy fight. It's like you said, I agree. I couldn't agree more. Thought he looked great in the first round. And like I said in our breakdown, I was just like, I wanted to see what Nassourdine looked like in the ring, like in the octagon, compared to Izzy physically. And oh fuck, the guy's fucking big. Like, even in the weigh-ins, I'm like, dude.
Did you hear Dana? You texted me on Friday morning, just like, do you see this guy, bro? And I don't know if you heard Dana. Dana said, like, after the weigh-ins, I think, Dana, or it might have been DC, or someone was like, I patted him on the back, and I thought I was touching steel. Like, he is as solid as they come. He's jacked up. And I said this on last week, like, bro, he's 28. Like, he's just entering his prime. Maybe not even in his prime. So, like, again, we underestimate how much better these guys can get. And, like, when you're fighting an Israel Adesanya, I have to think that camp looks a little different than if you're fighting, respect to Cannonier, but some of these other guys. Like, again, I just feel like coming into camp, like coming into a fight against an Izzy, it has to just have a different feel to it, right? And it brings a different version of you. And obviously, he had the biggest moment of his career by far. So, again, I said this while watching last week. I watched the Cannonier fight. I watched the Strickland fight. Like, dude, he looked really good in both those fights. And Strickland at the time, it was, a very close competitive fight. And, Strickland was like this ranked like 7th or 8th guy. And then we went and see him win the belt. So it's like, all right, how good is that guy? Cannonier against Vettori, I keep saying this, but like, dude, he looked like he was like maybe the best fighter that's ever existed. Like he looked insane against that fight. And then a couple months later, he goes and fights Imavov, and Imavov looked really good in that one. So that was his moment on Saturday. That's the game they play. But man, it's also just so you can look great for 6 minutes, and then it's just like that, and it's all over.
Gloves can change in a second, man.
And I don't think it was a bad stoppage. Some people were saying that.
I do think my brother was texting me about that too. It's like I do think you can allow Izzy to go out on the shield. Like, don't get me wrong, I think he would have been going out if they continue to fight. Like, even when he got like tried to stand up, he like fell back on his one leg. Like, he was definitely out. But
yeah,
it's just I don't know. Sometimes I'm not saying favoritism, but I'm like, dude, some of these guys like Izzy, like whatever, some of these big name guys, and then in all title fights, I do think. I'm not saying you got to let the guy be dead, but like
I agree with that.
Let's let guys go out on their shield a little bit. Like sometimes these stoppages are a little early. They're signing up to. I think Izzy would want to go out. You know what I'm saying?
I 100%. I love what you just. I was just going to say that. Like they signed up for it. They know what they're getting themselves into, and in a fight like that, in a probably like number one contender type fight, a fight that again, if Izzy wins, this conversation looks way different. It's like, all right, could get another title shot. He's right back in that picture. Imavov, I think, has a great argument for a title fight. We're talking about Izzy, like, what's next for him? Where does he go from here? So, like, there really shouldn't be any questions about it, right? It should be they're in a fist fight. Like, they know what they're getting themselves into. If he took 2 more shots, like, I don't think anyone would be complaining about it. I agree. He was kind of out. Like, I don't think it would have changed anything. But, like, I don't know. You do kind of have to let the guy go out on his shield, and I'm sure Izzy would say the same thing. So, but what do you think?
I was about to say, I think it's pretty clear you go Imavov versus Whitaker for a number one contender fight. Yeah. What do you think?
What? Wait, really?
Yeah. What else? What else would you see?
Whitaker just got his skull crushed like a grape.
Oh, I'm thinking. My bad. No. Didn't he just knock out Alaskarov though, or was that before?
No, Alaskarov was in the summer. Khamzat was in October.
I mean, no, then Khamzat's fighting for the belt. The weekend. I don't care if this fight comes down to a split decision on Saturday. Khamzat's fighting for the title next. He's the bell cow of the division. Win, lose, it don't matter. Khamzat's fighting for the title next. So I don't know then. Who? I mean, is there anybody like a fresh name?
Think you love this guy. I hate that you're Kai Borralho.
Oh no! That's who it was. Who someone said on the.
I know that's
something. Yes, or maybe you texted. I don't know, but that is absolutely the fight to make. That's
100%.
I think I don't know how you mix these up, but I do think Kai Borralho was the one I was talking instead of Rob Whitaker because someone said that, and I was like, that fight makes perfect sense, 100%, bro.
Yeah, he's on a tear right now. He's a fun, interesting guy. Like. You look now out of nowhere and middleweight has like become exciting. It was a stale division for so long. We saw Pereira kind of resurrect it. And then we saw like, even with like Strickland DDP, it was like, that was an exciting fight. And I'm sure it will be another one this Saturday, but like we finally have some fresh blood in there. I love it. Like again, Imavov, I think this guy is so good, man. And we didn't even see any real grappling. Like I think he does have some grappling in his pocket, but he's got legit power. He's jacked up. He's fast, and he's still, just entering his prime, as I freaking keep saying for some reason. But like, I think he can be really good. I honestly don't know. Him versus Borralho might be a complete toss-up. I think Borralho's looked great in his last couple. Is Cannonier his last fight? I don't think he's fought since then. Yeah. That was a really great performance. I mean, should have been. Speaking of going out on your shield, I mean, holy smokes, that was like one of the weirdest. It looked like he was out for like a full minute and he was just getting his face beaten in. But yeah, man, I think that's clearly the fight to make. I think we'll talk about this more in a couple minutes when we break down DDP versus Strickland, and we can kind of go over the middleweight division. But as you just mentioned, like they're in a weird spot right now. They're in a really, really, really weird spot if Sean Strickland wins, because like I don't know. You're saying they would just give Khamzat the shot. I think it's hard when you have 1-1, especially if this is a close, good fight. If you have two guys that are 1-1, you kind of have to make the trilogy. But I agree with you that it would be hard to pass up Hamzat getting a title shot against either of those guys because, like, either way, it's a fun buildup. There's a lot of talk back and forth, and I think either of those fights would deliver. But so, yeah, if you're Imavov, you're in kind of a weird spot because, like, in theory, he could, if you knock out Israel Adesanya. Oh, man, even saying that line, that guy just knocked out Israel Adesanya. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
But in theory, like, he is deserving of a title shot, in my opinion. But again, that division is a little bit clogged there at the top. So don't think we could realistically see it for a while. But Israel Adesanya, we threw out MVP. What do you want to see him do now?
Yeah, Izzy, I think MVP is the fight to make for him, for sure. I think that fight makes sense. Very entertaining fight. Yeah, I think it's a fight that would get the fans super excited at this point of his career. And again, it's like, if Izzy goes out and beats MVP, I think if Izzy goes out and wins this next fight, I still think he gives it a shot at maybe, one more shot at a title run. But again, I think that's the fight to make at 185. I know MVP kind of sounded like he wanted to go back to welterweight, but I think he would definitely stick around if it was him versus Izzy match.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't even know other than him, like, middleweight is kind of weird. You have a lot of guys who are kind of gatekeeper types in that, like, top, like, 7 to, like, 12, or I guess through 15. Like, you have some guys that, like, he's definitely not going to fight. Like, obviously he's fought Vettori. Vettori called him out. And Vettori also, like, tweeted the N-word out today. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I know, bro.
I don't think he hasn't fought in a year and a half. Like, I don't know what he's
gonna run into Buckley and Buckley's just gonna run up and stick him, bro, because Buckley's like that too. Like,
yeah, Buckley doesn't give a. He literally said, he's like, hey, if anyone says that, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. It was in reply to him. When I saw that, I was sure it was like a fake account, but kind of a weird way to get reintroduced to the Italian dream. You go into hiding, you don't say anything for a year and a half, and then you just go somewhere. We don't condone that here. Let's make that very clear.
That's going to be interesting when they run into each other.
Someone's gonna clock him, and I mean, deservedly so. Like, all right. I just had to say that because I don't know if you saw that, but so he's not gonna fight Vettori. Maybe now he'll fight Vettori. I don't know, but you got, like, Brendan Allen. Like, he's not gonna fight him. He's not gonna fight friend of the program Jack Hermanson because he would get his freaking back taken and his head plopped off. So he won't do that. But, like, I don't know who else there is to fight. We use this line. I was just talking to my buddy about this. We always talk about fun fights. Like, he shouldn't, if he's kind of moved on, he should just take fun fights. Like, there are not very many fun guys in the UFC. Like, there are not that many guys who fit that mold, right? Like, MVP and Izzy clearly are. So, like, yeah, Izzy's lost 3 in a row. 2 of them were title fights. This was kind of back in the win column. He loses. He gets knocked out. There aren't very many interesting matchups for him right now. Like, I just don't. He said he wants to keep going, and I believe him. This was a very impressive, or it was very impressive to me, him taking this fight. I said that a lot in the buildup. Like, he certainly did not have to. There were certainly easier names out there than this monster. So, if I'm Izzy, yeah, like, it seems like him and MVP are friends. So I don't know if that's, like, realistic. I saw them doing some stuff together in the buildup for this one. So, but yeah, man, as soon as you said that fired me up. I think that would be a great fight. I think it would be, actually, as I said, probably really boring. A lot of staring, there'd be a lot of weird stuff. MVP is hilarious, bro. He runs around the cage. He, like, does his whole thing. Got to be annoying to fight him. But, yeah, man, it was very sad seeing Izzy lose. And I do hope he gets a fun fight like that. Cause yeah, I don't need to see him fight. Like, I can't even think of something. I don't need to see Fluffy Hernandez. Like what he doesn't strike me as the guy who's, like, just going to
Rodriguez here after he sparks a Cannoneer out here in a few weeks.
RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop.
He does fight. That's pretty soon, right?
Yeah, I think that'll be a good fight. Yeah, it's the 15th, so it's next week.
Oh wow. Yeah, we got a nice little stretch here. A lot of fights. But anything else from this weekend? Again, you kind of mentioned Sergei a little bit. Like, I think just the psychological damage of some losses, man, it just completely changes fighters. Like, that Sergei Pavlovich was
Go Sergei versus Almeida next.
Gross.
Almeida gets it done early. Gets the takedown and gets him out of there, I think.
You think? I would love to. Man, I really hope Almeida kind of figures out. His striking looked much improved recently.
The striking if he puts the striking together, we're looking at a true
He's a
contender.
He would be a problem, dude. It seems, ever since I think he fought Lewis and it was super boring, he kind of looked like a different fighter recently. But yeah, man, Sergey is a very different guy than he was a couple years ago when he was knocking everyone out in the first round. Everyone talked about this Sambo background, so I guess we got to see some offensive grappling, but not what I want to see from that guy against Jairzinho. I mean, I guarantee I could take down Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Obviously, that's not saying much, you know how I get down, but like the guy looks like he stands straight up. He literally looks like a cardboard cutout. Like he doesn't even really defend, and he just like slowly topples down. Disgusting.
It's getting to the point. I think I'm going to start saying I can compete with Jairzinho Rozenstruik.
Yeah. I guarantee he might be like minus 220 if we were to fight. You give me like 2 weeks to bulk, man. I do not like his odds, but he would beat up my front leg for sure. But that seems to be all he could do. And how do you not let your hands go at the end of a fight? Maybe somebody had Jairzinho by a knockout and really wanted it in the last 20 seconds. But like, dude, he doesn't. That's another. You're about to lose 30 to 27. There's 20 seconds
also
left.
Like powerful as shit if you just throw your hands. Like if you land something.
He did that exact thing against Overeem.
Yeah.
Like,
got dominated the whole fight against Overeem and then landed the shot at the end.
Especially if you're a big heavy, just like let your hands go, dude. It blows my mind.
Just let your hands go. If you land as a heavyweight, 4-ounce gloves, they're like you're probably knocking the guy out.
Someone's getting knocked out. And if Sergey's going to engage, I don't know. Some guys, man, it's I don't even know what to say. But yeah, obviously, fight nights, as I said, you kind of can take what you can get, but not the most.
The UFC does a couple more fight nights over in Riyadh. Gives us some kind of loaded fight night cards.
Just keep doing them in Saudi if you're going to stack them out and make them exciting. Like, I mean,
so it's not Holly Holm versus Marino Bueno Silva. I mean, we'll take those type of fight nights,
dude. Like you just mentioned, RoboCop Cannonier. Like that's a good fight night main event, but like I can't imagine what the co-main for that fight is. But
yeah.
Me versus you, pal. Eventually, when this whole thing is said and done, we're going to make it happen for the troops.
Live for the stream.
Huh?
I said live for the fans.
When we get to 2,000 subscribers, we're going to box on YouTube. It won't be AI for sure. But, all right, we'll have out our UFC 312 predictions here pretty soon. Like, comment, subscribe. Tune in for the next one. UFC Saudi Arabia. That's a wrap.